Hey, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast number 26. We are in season 2, episode 4. We got Big Box Steve moderating. We got Derek, the Big Smooth, and we got Fresh Wes on the mic.
Hot on the mic.
Hot on the mic. Wes coming in hot. Coming in hot.
It's not fair.
I mean, the listeners didn't hear it, but man, we got it. So we know what's up. That's all good. It's all good because we're going into a happy place. Well, it might not be so happy place because these are some hot topics. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you're on Anchor, if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, thanks for the listens. Appreciate your viewership. So let's jump into it today. There's a couple hot topics today, but first we'll kind of start on a sad note. And it seems like a lot of sad notes lately, especially for us, because we're movie guys, we're sports guys. There's a couple I want to talk about. First, let's talk about Vin Scully first. So for those that don't know Vin Scully, this is probably, I don't know, most famous broadcaster ever. I mean, is that arguable point?
For at least, for baseball.
For baseball, for sure.
But he also did the catch, the White Clark catch.
Just in general, though, I mean, guy's been doing it forever, right?
Yes.
60, 70 years.
He was the voice of the Dodgers for 67 years.
67 years, yeah. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So, obviously shout out there. Like it just, if you're a baseball fan, if you're not, if you're just a fan of sports, with losing these people, what does this mean to sports? Like, will there ever be another Vin Scully?
Well, I don't know about, it's so hard because I think about childhood, and for me Vin Scully is ingrained because of like the 86 World Series, and I was watching it the other day because game 6, and the big moment in that is if you haven't seen it, you can watch it on YouTube. It's one of the greatest baseball games of all time. But at the very end, when the spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but you probably it's from 1986, when the Mets come back and win the game and everyone is just going crazy because it's a walk-off, he doesn't talk. He just lets it go. He lets the scene go, and he, for like 3 minutes, he doesn't say anything. And I don't think broadcasters could handle that nowadays.
Right.
They always have to talk. And that's where it's like he had so many nuances, and he would be telling a story and it would work perfectly, and he was seamless, and he would do it just by himself. He wouldn't have a color commentator with him. He could do it all. So I don't think we're going to see anyone like him again. I mean, 67 years.
Yeah, I think time, number one, right? But number two, and I don't know how much you listen to Vin Scully, Wes, but I feel like he always was part of the game going on. Like some of these broadcasters, especially in the NFL, they just go off on these weird tangents. What they're saying doesn't make sense to the game. And it almost makes me want to turn down the broadcasters. I remember, Wes, we used to watch games and we'd turn off the sound.
I want to jump one in. Today I wanted to turn off the sound for the Raider game today because Collinsworth was kind of unbearable today.
Well, that's an unbearable guy in general. I mean, to me, I don't usually go too hard on broadcasters. Again, I'll just turn them down, not listen to them. But Collinsworth is like nails on the chalkboard.
He was saying that Brandon Parker was a solid, great starting tackle, and that he was, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That guy sucks.
Wes, what do you got? What are your thoughts? Vin Scully, broadcasters, will there be another? What's the difference? What are we losing when you're losing a guy like that?
Honestly, I really didn't know much about him. And so staying up, I was doing some writing last night on my computer, and I got MLB Network on all the time. now. I watch a lot of baseball, and then you see, they did a tribute to him, I think in the Dodger Giants games, and they played some video of him talking, and he's just a very happy person, and he never let anything bother him. It seems like, in my opinion. I mean, it's just I don't really know the guy, but I think it's something for everybody to learn and understand that no matter what's happening in this shithole, excuse me, I said shithole, in this crap hole, he didn't let it bother him, and he seemed like a very happy person, and he has beliefs. I don't know what kind of beliefs he had, but he's a happy person. And I kind of listened to him for a while. I was like, man, I'm a really bitter person. I'm an angry person. This guy seems pretty freaking happy for what he does.
Yeah, he's enjoying what he's doing for sure.
Yeah. And it was actually quite refreshing listening to some of the things he said.
Yeah, I think what's the other guy from the Cubs, Derek? I'm sure you remember his name.
Harry Carey,
right? Same. I think they're similar to me. They both really, really enjoyed what they did, and I think that's a big part of what makes good broadcasters. And they're not trying to be know-it-alls, and that's my Collinsworth issue. Like when you listen to somebody like Vin Scully and Harry Carey, it's like they're just announcing the game. They're not trying to like sound like the smartest guy in the room and tell you what's good, what's bad, or all this stuff. It's like they're just broadcasting the game, and I think that's what a broadcaster should be, and that's what I like about those type of guys. And I know a lot of people give Madden a hard time, but I always thought Madden did the same thing, and I know Madden is the team that scores the most points is always going to win the game, and it's like, well, yeah, of course they are, but they just broadcasted the game. Pat Summerall, I think there's a lot of guys like that, and I think that's missing in today's broadcasting, which I think Tony Romo gets a bad rap for doing that. Like Romo, he kind of just like says what's going on. Everybody's like, yeah, of course it's a run play, Romo, but it's like he's just broadcasting the game. So maybe Tony Romo is the next one.
It's Drew Brees, right?
Yeah, I think
Tom Brady.
Drew Brees seems like he'd be one of those type of know-it-alls, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, Tom Brady when he retires, because he's got that huge contract already set up.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to see Tom Brady. I mean, he could be a broadcaster. I'd watch him.
Well, he's already got a contract to be one.
I know.
It's like
$300 million.
Jeez.
No journal. No,
it must be rough to be him, man.
This guy just can't lose.
No.
Like you can't.
He is winning at life.
He can't lose, man. Everything he touches turns into gold.
You know what? It was funny is people hate him so much for it. I think it's
so much.
I think it's funny. Okay, I'm gonna tell a 2-minute story. You guys gotta listen to shit, dude. You cannot believe this. So, I'm talking to some girls the other day. I'm like, all right, and things are going well. And one of the girls is like, hey, what's your sign? I go, I'm a Leo. And the look on their faces is like terror. Like, oh, you're a Leo. Oh, fuck, dude. Like, no, we're in, and she's like, it's not gonna work out. And I said, that Tom Brady is a Leo and Barack Obama's Leo, right? So if they walk through this fucking door, right, are you gonna say the same thing to them? Right? Tom Brady walks through the door. And you're like, oh, you're a Leo. Sorry. That's not gonna work out. Ridiculous, dude.
That's funny.
Well, Tom Brady's going to walk in the door and look at them and go, that's my wife, Giselle. So leave me alone.
No, well, I'm just saying. I'm just like theoretically.
Yeah, my cousin's a Leo, and he's super happy about it. Like, it's so funny.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's like,
being Leo's okay.
Leo's like the Lions. So, yeah, that's a kind of wrap this portion up, a lot of people probably don't even know Vin Scully, but there's a lot to be said about someone who has passion for the game, broadcast the game for that long, doing it that well, and that's something that's missing in sports for me these days, and that's unfortunate. So hopefully we get another Vin Scully, whether it be in baseball or football or any sport.
Here's a little factoid tidbit. In his 67 years of broadcasting for the Dodgers, if you took all the time he broadcasted games, you could walk to the moon and back, moon and back, moon and back in that time. That's how much the distance of time that he called at Dodger games.
That's a lot of time. I mean, I guess if that's what you love to do, like he had a good life. Like he did what he did, he loved it. So so let's move on to a more controversial topic here. Brittney Griner. So today, I guess not today, but is it today or recently? They announced her sentence 9 years, and there is a lot. There's been a lot of controversy around this since the beginning, right? A lot to unpack here, but let's start from the very beginning. Like when you first talk about one of the first things they're talking about is WNBA players, they have to go to Russia or they have to go to other countries to make money. Like, how does that feel to you guys? Like, are they forced to go to these countries? Like, do they need to go there to play to make more money than they're making here?
Well, supply and demand, we're not paying. No one's going to WNBA games here. They appreciate them over, maybe not Russia or China. They appreciate it more over there. So, of course, they're going to make more money over there. Now, do they have to go over there? No, they can get another job or do something else. But if they want to play sports and make money, then yes, they got to go over to Europe and Asia, in that area.
Well, I mean, you see the memes going around and the articles around about how LeBron makes more than the whole WNBA by himself.
Yeah, but he also produces more income for other people than the whole WNBA does by themselves. It's supply and demand. No one's going to watch the games. If people are going to watch the games, then yeah. I mean, how many WNBA teams have gone bankrupt and are non-defunct now? Right.
So why do you keep seeing this as like a sexist issue or a issue of women not getting paid as much as men? Like you're seeing this everywhere.
I don't know why. No one's going to see the games. They're not bringing in the income. So I mean, it's no different than arena football or any of the other sports things that don't make any money. It's all about making money. If you're making lots of money, then you'll be able to pay your players more, but that's not happening.
So then, is this a illegitimate claim that the women aren't getting paid enough, that they should be getting paid more?
I'd have to look at the books to see like for sure, but I mean, when you're having teams that are like actually going bankrupt and folding, I don't know how much money there's in the league. Definitely nothing compared to the NBA.
Well, when you talk about, men not getting paid as much as, or women not getting paid as much as men, like this is a hot topic more than just the NBA, right? Or WNBA. This is a topic that happens in corporate America. This is a topic that, they complain about everywhere, or, people bring up, everywhere. Is this different than, say, the CEO of a oil company or a tech company being a man getting paid $5 million a year or being a woman getting paid $3 million a year? Like, how does that differ from the WNBA and the NBA?
Well, that would differ because you're in the same bracket of money wise. So if you're a company and you're making this much money and you're paying this guy who's as qualified as this lady more money even though they do the same jobs, that's wrong. Where the WNBA and the NBA is concerned is you have the WNBA making $10 million and the NBA making $10 billion. And so it's like, that's where the correlate, it's not the same correlation because it's the NBA is making so much more money. Now in like a corporation, yeah, if you're doing the same job at a company that's making the same amount of pay, then yes, they should be paid equally.
You agree with that, Wes?
I mean, the reality about the WNBA for years, they've always been subsidized by the NBA. And that's all there's to it. Nobody wants to go watch the WNBA. We all want to root, and that's fine. They can do whatever they want, but they're being subsidized by the NBA. It's been that way for years. And the problem with the whole Brittney Griner, I mean, honestly, I didn't really know Brittney Griner until she ended up in prison. And she's one of the most popular players. And then you start scratching your head and realizing what happened? What is she doing? Like, how did this happen? And it's an injustice what's happening to her. But
let's unpack that for a second. So why is it an injustice what's happening to her? She went over to another country, she committed a crime, and now she's being sentenced for it. So why is that injustice?
Well, you're correct in that. But in my opinion, the Russian government's using her as an example to punish us. It's not about her. They don't really. Why do you care about her? Like, she's being used as a token to basically push our buttons. They want to see how far they can push us. And with this administration, and honestly, with this shitty government, they can push us as far as they want. No one's going to do anything. All I heard all day long, oh, this is unacceptable. This is. It's like, no. It's like, honestly, if there is I'm not a big fan of Ronald Reagan, but there wouldn't even be a discussion of what would happen. She would already be on a plane back. That's all there's to it. You know, and this whole thing is like, you know, these sound bites that everybody comes out with. It's like, you shouldn't even, if you're going to say that, you shouldn't say anything. You're just feeding the beast more than it is. You're causing more problems.
Do you think it's just and fair that as a country or whatever, as a government, that one of our citizens can go commit a crime in another country and we can just go demand to have them back? Is that just? Is that right?
Yeah, that's, but see, you're exactly right. If she went to Tibet and did that, that's one thing. But what everybody has to understand is we're literally at war with this country. We're just not saying it. We've been at war with them for a while, and they're looking for every edge to F with us, and F with our people, and F with our government, and F with our president. And they're going to use this chick. Honestly, they could have sent her back. Like, get this chick out of my country. Honestly, she's annoying. She looks annoying. I mean, how do you show up to a hearing with a, you know, she shows up to a freaking hearing with a Rasta shirt on. Do you think that's going to help your case? I guarantee you that judge is like, I was going to give you 4 years. Now I'm going to give you 9 for being a stupid idiot.
For sure.
That's not even the point.
Everybody 5 years for your shirt.
Yeah. But everybody's using this, you know, and especially the Russian government. They're sitting there and they're laughing their, you know what, off, because it's like, all right, we're going to use this to our advantage because we're going to see how far we can push these people.
Yeah.
And with this administration,
well,
they'll be like, it's unacceptable. That's just terrible. It's like,
you're hearing
you're a leader. You're a leader, dude. Really?
Yeah.
Like,
you're definitely hearing a lot of that. And so I'm kind of curious, Derek, your take on that when you talk about her being used by both sides. You know, is that what's happening, or is is Russia just implementing their laws? Like, what's really happening there, in your opinion, Derek?
I think it's a little everything. She's being a political pawn by both sides. Plus, don't go into a foreign country with hashish oil. I mean, this isn't America. There's stricter laws in other countries. Well, remember the Claire Danes movie?
Right.
What was that? I mean, hello, there was a movie about this stuff.
Well, it's not like Russia is giving her any more penalty than their law allows. It's not like it was a 2-year sentence or a 2-year maximum sentence, and they said we're going to give you 10. Like, it wasn't. That's the normal law. They didn't do anything out of their normal law. There was somebody else that got like 14 years for the same thing.
Yeah, a teacher.
Yeah. So it's not like they're
but we don't care about him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, who cares about him, because he's not an NBA or WNBA star or any, I mean, there's so they're not going outside the norm, that's what I'm curious about. It's like, when we say that, what's happening here, they're really just doing what they would normally do.
But they're also using it to their advantage so they can get an arms dealer back.
Well,
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly.
but we also are using it to our advantage so we can get a spy back.
Yeah, you know what? I like the whole jousting thing. Fuck all this shit. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cuss. I'm gonna swear, because you know what? There's a time and a place for swearing. And the problem is everyone they got such a problem with us, got such a problem with them. They just settle it like men. But they don't want to do that. They want to pull this crap. Well, let's put this chick in the middle of it, which she deserves no place in it for a lot of reasons. Number one, she's not that important. She's annoying. She's stupid. And honestly, I remember watching Midnight Express as a kid, and I would never take any sort of drug through an airport after watching that movie. I've watched it 5 times, and I'm like, holy crap. And I watch it. I'm like, I know what's going to happen. And I continue to watch it. I'm like, why am I watching this? To remind myself never to take drugs through an airport.
You should.
Doesn't matter where it is. And
Any airport, no
especially
guns.
a place where we're literally at war with.
So,
But-
okay. Wait, so
But
let me ask you this, Wes. So outside of let's minus her being a pawn, let's minus me being in war with Russia, let's minus everything about her, about anybody else. Let's just go back to the simple responsibility. Does she have a responsibility for her actions?
Of course she does.
So why does anything else matter? Why does it matter? You took drugs in an airport to a
Right.
country where it was illegal. Why does anything else matter?
That's a totally legitimate point, and that's why I will not lose sleep at night for her going to jail for 9 years. I don't freaking care. Honestly, she deserves it. That's not the point. The point is this: the freaking Russians are using this against us. And China's doing. They all do this. The only reason this is such a big story is because they want to push our buttons to see how far they can go. That's all there's to it.
Well, I think it's a big story because she's a WNBA player, and all of the NBA players and all the sports media people are making it a big deal.
Well, and she's a minority, and
You know what?
she's LGBTQ, and
Yes.
she's a woman. Like, so there are a lot of factors that there's people, not just the governments, like it's not just the Russian government and the American government going back and forth. What most of the media right now, what you see on this comes from those other, the minorities and the LGBTQ and women saying that they're doing it because of these factors. You're seeing a lot of that.
The difference is we are a country of restraint. We've been this way for the last 70 years. We can do a lot of damage, but we choose restraint versus these idiots who think, oh yeah, we're so tough. It's like, you're not that tough, dude. Guaranteed. And so we're stuck in this conundrum And honestly, it's all her fault. She should have never done what she done. She should have known better. All of us. I mean, none of us are that old to understand. You don't do stuff like that, especially with a country that we're almost at war with. You don't.
And an airport.
You don't take the chance.
The thing to me is like, you don't do anything at an airport. Like, you could get pulled over driving your car, and you could have some weed on you.
Yeah.
And what's the cop's going to make you throw it out the window? Worst case scenario, you might get taken in. The judge is going to give you some probation or something like that. You do something in an airport, like, you're going to get it. Whether it's drugs or guns or, whatever you want to take.
And what do they do to people in the Philippines when it comes to drugs? They just kill drug dealers, dude.
Well,
it's a fucking joke.
We were talking about
people die.
I was talking about, you guys remember the American guy that got caned for stealing? And that was years ago, right?
Yeah.
But what used to happen in the Middle East when you stole something?
Eye for an eye, hand for hand.
They just cut your hand off,
Yeah.
And so it's like, that was kind of funny to me, as in you think about this, and yeah, I mean, it sucks, and I don't think, because we are a country, and how many states have legalized, cannabis in one way or another, or lowered the penalties for it, or taken away certain crimes for that. So we, as a country, we don't see it as that big of a deal, right? But we're not that country. We can't force our laws and our beliefs on these other countries. And if you are going to go visit another country, you have to understand their rules and their laws.
It's like freedom. That's what freedom is. That's what liberty is. You have the liberty to go to another country and do what you do. The reality is, though, you have to understand the laws that you could potentially be breaking. And for us to step in and say, you know what? Well, it wasn't that bad. So
right. So we're gonna take her back. Like, we're gonna demand her back.
But yeah, exactly. It's a conundrum, because we're in a soft war with these people. That's all there's to it. No one wants to talk about it.
I don't think there's anything soft about our war with the, like.
Well, if it was a hard war, we would just fucking kill them all.
Oh yeah,
because they have three cities. They have
well.
St. Petersburg, they have Moscow, and they have and it would last about 20 minutes.
No,
that's how fast it would be.
It would end in nuclear.
But the
war.
reality is, we have great restraint, and we do what we do because, sadly, we're fairly nice people overall. But this is chipping away a little bit too much.
Yeah, how would the Native Americans think that, how nice you are? I don't say Americans are so nice.
We're talking about different things.
No, I know. Yeah. I'm just joking. So the last thing about this Brittney stuff. This last one that I've seen a lot of, and this one kind of bothers me in a sense, but I keep seeing this. If it was LeBron, he'd be back already. So if it was LeBron James doing this, would he be back in the US already?
He would never be doing that.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing we say, because LeBron wouldn't do it. Like, I don't think he would. Maybe he would, but what if he did? Like,
I don't know. He's a pretty smart businessman. I don't think he would dare.
He would never jeopardize it. But would he be back, though, is the question.
Yes. You know why?
Let's say he had a default in character. It happened. Would he be back?
Of course. Why? Because he's in bed with China. China's not going to let that happen.
China's to invest in LeBron. They're calling up Putin, being like, "Hey, look, dude, you got to send back LeBron because you're costing us money." But seriously, no. Would LeBron be back? Like, why would LeBron be back?
Well, first off, he first could pay himself out.
Oh, maybe
himself.
So he gets a money thing.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't have enough money.
Like if you get, somehow, assault some police officers in Mexico or something, and have to figure out a way to get out of the jail.
I mean, money solves a lot of issues,
Yep.
right? I mean, so money wise, maybe he is back. But given Wes's theory, if they have LeBron under wraps, like now they're going to probably use that even more. Because Brittney, yeah, that's a little bit of a pawn, but LeBron's like a bishop.
Yeah. The only thing is LeBron's global.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the whole world after you if you keep LeBron.
So you think LeBron would be back? What about you, Wes? You think LeBron would be back if it was him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's LeBron. It's LeBron.
It's LeBron.
I mean, it's LeBron. I mean, what are we supposed to do? The world can't revolve without LeBron, because every morning you have to talk about him on every sports show, because it's so important about him being the best ever, which he'll never be the best ever because Michael Jordan is by far. And there's no debate, but they want to make a debate because they have no lives to freaking talk about. They sit there and talk about stuff that's stupid. You can't even think about stuff to talk about. You got to talk about LeBron the whole summer. Honestly, I'm a big fan of baseball. Actually, baseball is kind of fun. They won't even talk about baseball. They're going to talk about LeBron. Is LeBron the best ever?
Talk about Aaron Judge for a second.
Aaron Judge is badass, dude.
As many home runs through, or almost as many home runs through 104 games as Bonds and McGuire.
He swings the club like it's
Babe Ruth.
It's effortless. He hits the ball like it's like there's nothing.
I mean, he's on something this year, right? I mean, he's been good before, but he's on something this year. That's a little.
He wants that new contract money,
right? Yeah, there's something happening with him this year that's different.
Yeah,
because he's always been a good player to me. I don't think he's ever been great, but what he's doing this year is amazing.
He's had nagging injuries too. This is the first year he's really been healthy.
Right. Which is not uncommon for a lot of athletes, right? It's hard to stay
The
healthy
dude's
for a
like
while.
what? He's like 6'6".
Yeah, he's huge for a baseball player for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's big. He's big, thick. So, baseball is good. And Judge, I think, is bringing a little back. You're getting a lot of, some people watching and getting that excitement because home run. I mean, because that's what it is about baseball, right? It's about home runs.
And you can't forget about Ohtani.
Yeah.
Ohtani is big deal.
Right.
Yeah. Ohtani has changed the game, and now they're drafting players that are Ohtani-like. It's not just about hitting. Like, can you get a pitcher that can hit? Like, Ohtani's changed the game. It's kind of crazy,
Yeah, it's definitely baseball has had its rough ups and downs, for a while. I think generally the NFL and the NBA is kind of taken over. NFL being, up there at the top.
Right. I mean, that's another society thing too, is because people think that baseball is boring.
I mean, it's
But-
kind of boring. I mean, it's a reality. I mean,
But it depends how you look at it. I thought so too. I've watched a lot of baseball the last 2 years, and it's just like, it's a different vibe you get. It's a different game. It's kind of like watching golf. It's different when you watch a sport where you got a stick and you hit the ball versus football and basketball. It's like you got to run and you have to make it yourself. I mean,
well, it's an action. Yeah, there's just more action happening
course.
consistently. Because in baseball, there's slow times in the game, right? There's times where you're waiting for stuff to happen, especially if you get in a game. It's like watching a soccer game that's 1-0. Like you ever watch a 1-0 soccer game?
Well, that would be like it's a 3-0 football game,
Right.
defensive battle. Thing with baseball is once you get to the postseason, there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
Because it is literally
I agree with that.
one pitch, and that could be the games become so tight and close that it's so suspenseful.
I also think that baseball does a really good job of making sure the best teams go to the playoffs because they play so many games and because of the way they do their playoffs. That baseball postseason is one of the most exciting postseasons you'll ever see. I think football number one, baseball number two. If you're talking about postseason, for me anyway, I put the NBA behind it, and I put hockey behind it when you're talking about postseason.
NBA, it's just too many games. It's
Right.
like 2 months, it
It's
seems, for the
mundane.
playoffs.
It gets mundane after a while, and you're just waiting for the finals. You're like, can we please just get to the finals? At least the NFL is just one game,
Right.
for each round and stuff. But
Yeah.
baseball, I will always watch the baseball postseason because it's exciting, and that's a great thing about baseball. So let's jump into our last topic here. Deshaun Watson. So first of all, it's interesting. I don't know how much you guys have looked into like all the cases, the civil case and the potential case, even to like I just read the transcript of some of the civil stuff. It's pretty interesting actually, and it almost makes the debate for me go both ways, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. So first of all, no criminal charges, right? So they deem there's not enough evidence for any criminal charges.
Yeah, well, that's tough stuff to prove,
Right?
Because
you need video, like it's hearsay. It's my word against yours, right?
Right.
Like, so yeah,
it's like Robert Kraft got away with. There's no.
So then you go to the civil cases. So so criminal case, we'll just throw that out. But also, before we move past the criminal for a second, you know why that they deemed that it's not just because there's no video evidence or anything like that. The main reason that they didn't go with criminal charges because on both sides there was admittedly zero contact. So there was no actual like sexual contact. So it wasn't like they were touching him or he even asked to be touched. So that's why they threw it out civilly. So not civilly, criminally. So this come down to the civil case where the main thing is that he asked to just wear a towel versus a sheet, which most people ask or wear when they're getting a massage, right? I don't know, have you guys gotten massages? Like I've always worn a sheet. So any massage you ever had,
Never got one.
well, you're missing out. It's great. But yeah, you always wear a sheet, right? And so he asked not to wear a sheet. He asked to wear a towel, which is their number one complaint. And so that's interesting to me that the whole thing is based around him wanting to wear a towel versus a sheet. Not around him asking for sexual favors, not around like him asking them to do sexual things to him or them even doing sexual things.
But what about, here's one I found that one of the lawsuits said that Watson exposed himself, touched the plaintiff's legs, and repeatedly requested to have sex with her. So he was touching her.
That's not in the actual transcripts. So whatever that is, whatever article you're getting off, that's complete hearsay. That's something that's in an article. The transcripts, the only one that said that there was anything bad dropped her case because she didn't want to be named. There was 25 actual suits filed. 24 of them went to the court.
The lawsuits have all been filed by women accused of sexual misconduct ranging from inappropriate touching to forced oral sex.
Yeah, so none of those, that's not true at all. So whatever you're
Okay,
reading there.
that's from Tony Busby,
Yeah. Well,
Houston attorney of the people.
Yeah, so Tony's that's not in the transcript of the actual civil case or the NFL case. So you can actually go on and you can get the actual transcript for the whole case, and none of those that's not points in the case at all. So what's interesting though is in this civil case, so he has no criminal charges. and then he goes to a civil case, and then he settles this civil case without testifying for almost $2 million on average per accusation. So between 1.5 and 2.5 million per accusation, totaling almost like something over $40 million. So does that make him look more guilty to settle like that? Like, why would you settle for that much money in these civil suits when you already were dismissed of any criminal intent?
Well, OJ was dismissed of any criminal charges too.
Right. Yeah, but he got convicted of in the civil suit. Like, he went to trial in civil. Deshaun didn't go to trial. He just settled it.
Because he didn't want to go to trial, because if he would have gone to trial, he would have lost.
He still would have paid probably the same amount of money.
Yeah. And then he would have been also, they would have been like, oh, he did it. This way he gets out of it and says, oh, I just paid them off, so I don't have to deal with it. And then I could get a contract with the Browns where I don't lose any money if I get suspended.
So isn't that that I guess that's my question. Isn't that more interesting to why maybe he would just settle for the $40 million, knowing he's got 250 million, 30 million coming, and can get suspended in the first year because it's all bonus money, and then the last 4 years is all guaranteed 46 million a year. So his contract with the Browns is 1 million salary, but 40 some million bonus for the first year. Because if he's suspended, he doesn't lose bonus money.
Yeah, he doesn't lose any money. He only loses his game check for this year, and it was going to come out to like $100,000 if he got suspended for the season.
Right.
That's how they set the salary.
Right. And then next year, instead of getting all bonus money, he gets 40 some million, 46, 43 million or something like that in salary. So isn't it in your best interest as a financial advisor of a player to say, hey, go ahead and pay the settlement because you're going to have this huge contract structured this way? You know, so why not just pay the settlement and get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really the whole criminal and civil part of that's really interesting, and that all happened around June, right? I think most of them were settled. There was like 3 that were settled this month, but most of them were settled in June. So he was able to go and start, doing contract negotiations. But now we get to the NFL suspension. So you've got a third party basically judge that suspends him for 6 games. So is that fair? Like how do you feel about the actual suspension and the games itself?
Well, if you read what that judge came up with, she stated that he did do it, but through her legal thing, it was only 6 games was adequate. And she even stated that he should not be allowed to have any masseuse other than the team masseuse only, with people around. He's not allowed to be around a masseuse by himself. And he's going to get suspended for a year. That's what's going to happen.
So you think with the NFL appealing it, that because Goodall assigned a new judge for the appeal, at least to hear the appeal, some guy from New Jersey or something like that. I don't know. I guess maybe this strikes me weird. Don't you think like a woman judge, a 70-year-old woman who's a federal judge, would be harsher than some guy?
Well, I think, is this guy actually going to be like a judge? I mean, the thing is Goodell put this person in charge because he could do it himself. He's actually the one that actually does the appeals.
Right, but he doesn't want to be involved. He wants to.
So obviously he already knows that this guy is going to give him a year.
So you think that this is like he's bringing in a what do you call it?
It's a patsy. He's bringing in someone to.
Yeah, he's bringing someone to do his dirty work for him. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, I think he's going to come in that way. He doesn't look bad.
Right.
And then the NFLPA is going to try and appeal, and they're going to lose.
Right. Because the NFLPA doesn't want an appeal even to this decision. They've already expressed that. They're all happy with the 6 games. Like they'll take the 6
Well, yeah,
games
because
and
that's
be done with it.
nothing.
So is 6 games too much or too little, or how do you feel about it?
Technically, he's not convicted of a crime. So how do you give him more than 6 games?
Is Calvin Ridley convicted of a crime?
Well, I mean, I'm not. If we're going to compare
Yeah, it's not a
the
comparison.
stupidity of the NFL, I mean, we can sit here all night and talk about stupidity.
Like Josh Gordon and
So
I mean,
Darren Waller.
Yeah.
If OJ Simpson decided he wanted to come out of retirement and play, it'd be okay because he wasn't convicted of a crime.
What
and he
I'm saying
killed 2
is,
people.
what I'm saying is I thought he would get a year. You know, I thought Deshaun Watson, I assumed, because you can't give him over 8 games, because there's this idea where, oh, we're gonna give him 12 games. No, you're not giving him 12 games. You might as well just give him a fucking year. That's all there's to it. You know, I thought he would get 8 games. He got 6. You know.
So is that
You do-
adequate? Do you think they need to appeal it or change it? Like, what do you feel? Like 6 games enough or not enough?
For stupidity, you should get a lifetime ban for how idiot what an idiot he is.
So Ben
'Cause it's
Roethlisberger,
stupidity.
you see the Ben
But for what he
quote?
did, a year, yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger quote said that he should never be allowed to play in the NFL again.
He did.
Roethlisberger shouldn't be talking.
Right? Is that funny? I think that's the funny part, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it shows you, yeah. It's yeah, it
I mean, I know this is not a popular opinion, but I think 6 games is fine. I think it's fine. I think you said something when you talk about he wasn't convicted of anything criminally. They threw it out without enough evidence to do that. You know, he settled, in my opinion, to get it done with, so he could collect his new contract and move past it. And then he's going to spend 6 game suspension. I actually don't see anything wrong with it.
There's a lot wrong with the whole situation. That's the problem. Problem is, what are we supposed to sit there and say? This guy's an idiot. He's a complete freaking moron for what he did. And you know he did it. Because there are 24 freaking women.
Do you know?
That can, but honestly, okay. So therefore, there's collusion. So you had 24 women. Let's destroy this dude so we can get him out of Houston. I've lived in Texas. There's a lot of weird people. But you know what? 24. I mean,
if you could make $2 million for saying
I get it,
guy you massaged, harassed you in some way,
I get it.
Wouldn't you do it?
But there's 24. That's the problem.
So how many of them? Again, that's all speculation, right? So it's like maybe there was really like 5, but another 20 came out because they wanted to get money,
True.
right? Maybe
Did you see the girl? Did you see the girl that came on TV tonight? She came out and started talking about it, and you're like, and you don't even want to see her. Like, go away. Like, this is stupid. Like, we already know. Like, and she's making a plea to people, and you don't have to make a plea. I think the court of public opinion says that, you know what, he kind of effed up, big time. And no one's going to look at him the same way again. Right. Doesn't matter how many, honestly, Cleveland's the last team to even reach the Super Bowl. Even if they reach the Super Bowl, people are like.
The reality is, though, is that nobody knows if he's guilty or not. Why? Because there's no actual evidence.
No.
That's the reality.
Well, here's from a transcript, Steve, because I did pull up one here. And I won't go into too much detail because we don't want it to go. But let's just say there's a part here where he exposed himself and put his thing on the woman's hand and said, "Ooh, that feels good. Keep doing it."
Yeah, from her testimony. right? From her original.
So
No,
are we
not-
going to
not-
say
that's-
that anyone
well,
who
no,
gets raped, we're not going to agree with their testimony?
that's not her testimony though. That's they're not in court testimony.
That's what the whole situation
In the district court of Harris County Judicial District, I got it right here. It's the whole plaintiff versus Deshaun Watson defendant.
In the civil or the criminal court.
This is the civil.
Yeah. So after they testified stuff in criminal court, these are all civil things.
Okay, so here's the thing. 1, okay. 2, maybe. 24, come on, they're not all lying. This is bull. The dude did it.
Right, but you don't know that though.
But see, that's the legal system for us.
Right.
Is
So
basically-
24 women are lying.
Exactly. Well, but here's
So-
the thing.
So Deshaun Watson's a saint and isn't lying, but 24 women are lying.
No, and we don't.
It's
that's
not-
what I'm
And the
saying.
fact is,
What I'm saying
the fact
that
is
you
the
don't
Texans
know-
covered this up.
you don't know one way or another though, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he is not guilty, and I'm saying that he's innocent. What I'm saying is that you don't know.
And that's the shitty thing about the world we live in.
Right.
Is I was
Now
Before-
if you
I was
bring-
talking to a
you
lawyer
bring in
tonight
a video
about it.
of him doing it. Now you know.
Okay, so you're telling any man out there if as long as they do it in private and no one can see, they can do whatever they want because you can't prove anything.
Has nothing to do with any other man. Has to do with this.
You
case.
just said that
that we're talking about right
anyone
now.
can do if they don't have video
No,
proof or anything.
we're talking about Deshaun Watson's case. Deshaun Watson's case is that there
Or 24 women saying
Bro.
that he exposed himself and touched himself.
then why didn't the criminal case they say 24 women said you did it, so you're guilty?
Because in a criminal case, you need more proof than you do in a civil case.
That's the
Dude,
point.
Did OJ Simpson kill Nicole? Did they do that? Yeah. And it was found in the civil
It
case.
doesn't matter. The point is the criminal case. They
It
did
does matter because you brought it up yourself. He settled before it can get to a criminal lawsuit. In OJ Simpson, he lost the criminal lawsuit. Not that he had the civil lawsuit. He lost the civil lawsuit. Deshaun Watson knew he wasn't going to get through it, so he paid everyone off. The Texans were keeping this all under wraps and letting this go on. And then when he decided he didn't want to be there anymore, they were like, oh, okay, we'll let it all go. The dude he's serial something. He's doing something wrong.
But see, the problem lies here, and I totally feel what you're saying, Derek. I get it, but this is a legal system, and it's crafted. Complete
Yeah, but
crap.
you know what?
So what is everybody supposed to do? So we're supposed to convict them for a year, and that's what the NFL is trying to do.
It's not even a conviction. It's just this is the NFL is a business.
I get it.
They can suspend anyone for anything. They can
and they've done it.
Exactly. So that's why he's going to get a year because that's what they want.
Get a year too. I think they're going to come back and they're going to appeal it, and he's going to get a year because I think everybody's pretty effed off, pretty upset about it. And I know people. I've already talked to people that are novice football fans. They said they won't watch the NFL because of the Watson thing. This dude gets $250 million for what? For what he did? Hey, here you go. Here's your reward. And I know people that, I have family members like, I'm not going to watch the NFL because of this crap. It wasn't even Kaepernick. It's this now. And so I get it. He should probably get a year. And I don't know a lot about his apologies. People have told me he's not sorry for anything.
No.
Yeah.
He's not even sorry for like, oh, I'm sorry you guys felt that I might have done something. Not even like, oh, I didn't mean to do anything wrong. I didn't know that you thought I did. No, he's like, no apology.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, he's $40 million apology. That's a big
It's-
apology.
like here you go. It's ridiculous looking at the like I look at Spot Track a lot and I'm like studying because I don't know what's going on with the caps and stuff. And then you just scroll down to Cleveland, it's like 204, and you're just like, oh my god, dude, this dude's contract is so much more ridiculous than everybody else's. It's
Yeah.
stupid.
I mean,
How
it's,
does this
it's
happen?
structured pretty crazy too, and Cleveland knew how to structure it, and that's again, I think that's a bigger problem with the NFL. You want to talk about, oh, he's going to get 12 games, NFL's going to appeal it, but yet you let Cleveland structure his contract that way. I mean,
Well, it all comes down to this. It doesn't matter what he does or what anyone does. Wes said I mean, NFL is still going to make billions of dollars and everyone's still going to watch. It doesn't really matter. There is no, like, Wes is going to have some fans who aren't really fans stop watching.
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
NFL is still going to move.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no true NFL fans are going to stop watching because the Deshaun Watson's playing or because he got a huge contract. And that's a reality. A lot of the backlash from this is not from people that watch much of the NFL.
now, if I was a woman and a Browns fan, that might be a different story.
Yeah, I mean,
Or you might be just really happy to have a decent quarterback. if you're a real fan.
How do we even know he's a decent quarterback? He hasn't played.
Well, up to this point, he's been a decent quarterback. Like
oh,
statistically,
he definitely has some cobwebs in his head. And
yeah. But I mean,
that could be a serious problem.
If you look at his statistics from his rookie year to when he stopped playing, based on this coming up, he had probably, I think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks statistically.
And then what everyone always likes to talk about with quarterbacks, look at his record.
Right. Yeah, he played for the Texans.
Texans had JJ Watt and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, they didn't have scrubs there, not like they do now.
Yeah, they're still the Texans. It's still tough to be the Texans.
Well, that's because they should have been the Oilers, and they
Right.
messed up their whole franchise by not doing that.
Yeah, I guess it's a tough one, and there's a lot of information out there different on both sides of this, which makes it really hard. And then you have kind of the same thing when you talk about like the Brittney issue, where you have certain sides that are going to support regardless. It's almost like, Democrats and Republicans, like it doesn't matter what side it is, they're going to take it as long as, they saw it or heard it somewhere. And so it creates this big media issue around it, and that's why I think, $40 million in 6 games, like, without any criminal charges, that's a big price to pay.
That's because he didn't go to a civil lawsuit.
What do you mean? What do you mean 40 million? What do you mean? Are they
Because he's settled for 40 million.
Right.
Oh,
So yeah, he settled with each case between 1.5 and 2.5 per person.
So if he were so innocent, if he was so innocent, why didn't he fight it then?
Well, you're talking about a hearsay case that, again, in civil lawsuit, it doesn't have to be, there's no law, right? It's not like criminal. You said it yourself. Criminal, you need to have proof. In civil, you don't. Right. So
Right.
he probably would. So it doesn't matter if he was guilty or not. He probably could have lost and paid the money anyway. So why waste the time? Why not just pay it, get your big contract, and move on?
Well, Johnny Depp fought it. And that, it's about the court of public opinion.
Yeah, there was a lot of different video and audio in Johnny Depp's case, though, and a lot of testimony, and where you had multiple people involved. Like you're talking about the Deshaun Watson case, you're talking about 2 people in a room.
Yeah, multiple 2 people in a room, all giving almost the exact same testimony too. So it's not like they, didn't, he had an MO.
You know what? If they offered me $2 million, I'd go say that I massaged Deshaun Watson and he made me touch the dick too. Like, I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Well, then maybe
That's
you should
like,
talk to the women, and if they, you think they're making this up, but
No, and I don't
wouldn't
think
want
so. I don't.
I
Think
wouldn't
that's the
want to be a
case.
woman in that situation.
I don't think that's the case, and I don't feel bad for Deshaun
but
Watson.
see, this is a whole other discussion because you both have a point here. But the problem is this. This is when the NFLPA steps in and says, I mean, honestly, there's so much money in this. It's stupid. It's like, do we really have to teach a class on this? Like, hey, this is what you do and what you don't do. If you want this, we can get you this. If you're gonna do this, these are professionals. They're team doctors or team masseuses. You don't do this. It's like, if you want this, we can work that out. But don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
the problem.
It's just,
and that's the reality of life. There's dudes that want to get their fix on.
Look, it's an example of why they need to be, because we had this with Antonio Brown, right? Like, it's an example of why they need to be more strict on these types of situations, right? They need to have multiple people in the room. They probably need to have, specific team massage doctors that only can be used. Like, they need more rules for that.
Wasn't that what it is? They have their own massage doctors.
Right, but he was going out finding private ones.
He was using private massage, right? And
Christ, dude, it's like, I mean,
so
really?
that's what they need to regulate it.
I mean, let's look at our situation. Like, I sit there and like, he's just got millions of dollars. You can't get your stuff on without doing that.
Well,
it's ridiculous. It's so
I mean,
stupid. It's stupidity.
Well, and
he should be banned from the NFL for stupidity.
Do you think
But
Deshaun
you can't
Watson
do
has
that.
a problem getting women?
Deshaun Watson.
Well, here's the thing is, and we don't know this, and
Right.
maybe one day we will, but when you have lots of money, you think you can do whatever you want.
There's
Because
plenty
you
of
have lots of
cases
money.
that, right? I mean, look at Epstein.
Well, how about
That's
we
a
just
perfect
prove
example.
it? How about
Kraft.
they give us some money and let's prove it, man?
So
Give me a couple million
Kraft,
and go out there and be like,
Kraft, they did have video evidence and he got away with it.
Yeah.
Stupid. I don't know, dude.
Well, that's there's a constant problem in this world with money, but you're also talking about Deshaun Watson versus Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft's one of the richest people around, and the same with, like I said, that's talking about like Epstein and these guys, and like, I mean, you're talking about people who've got a different kind of money. They're the ones paying Watson's paycheck.
Well, here's the big thing also is, and I think I said this long ago. If he wouldn't have wanted to leave the Texans, this would have been swept under the rug a long time ago, because they would have kept it out of the wrap. They would have paid everybody off without anyone knowing.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a likely scenario where if the Texans are playing well, right, they're keeping their good players, and he's, they're going to playoffs and being a potential Super Bowl contender, he may never have heard about it.
But as soon as he said he wanted out and was going to hold out and everything,
right,
is when everything started coming out.
Right. And again, I mean, so, and I don't, and the problem is that you're going to a situation where you're talking about predatory men and women involved, and that's such a sad and tough situation in the world. And it's so hard to say anything against that, because you just don't want to be the person who's like, doesn't believe a woman was raped, or doesn't believe a woman was harassed or sexually abused or physically abused by their husband. You don't want to be that person, right? That's a tough part of this world. But then you also got to think about, there's another side of this world where people would pay them to go say that, so
that's, I kind of look at that in the Me Too movement, and it's one where when someone comes forward, I'm like, oh, okay, one person, all right. Like Kevin Spacey, okay, one person. Now it's like 8, 9. Okay, there's an issue. When there's like 1, 2, okay, maybe something's going on. When there's 24, that's come on, that's something. That's not like you're going to get 24 different women all to come together and we're going to keep the same story straight. We're going to keep everything good so we can get money.
I mean,
And
hey,
none of them are going to slip up. Nothing's going to happen. They're all going to
9/11,
keep their story straight.
9/11, they got 200 people to come off an airplane and pretend like it crashed. So, come on. You want to talk about conspiracy theories? They're all out there.
Dude,
I get what you're saying.
We can sit here all night.
And I'm not.
And
And
we can sit here.
Anytime you have multiple victims and the more and more that come out, you call a spade, and I get that, and so that's why I said, with the evidence that's out there with no criminal charges, when he settles, he paid that money. There was actually no actual evidence of abuse, right? None of them were actually hurt or, raped or anything to that extent. He paid $40 million. He got a suspension, and it's time to move on. Like, I don't.
Okay, so if you're not, I'll give you the. Are you going to at least say that they were all sexual harassed?
They actually, even in the civil suit, it wasn't called sexual harassment. It's called sexual misconduct.
And what is sexual misconduct?
Well, and now you're talking about terms of harassment and misconduct, and there's a ton of terms out there, but that's what the actual term was, is misconduct.
It
doesn't fall into the same.
There's not much anybody can do about it because there's not criminal charges, and because the NFL before this made stupid decisions, especially Josh Gordon. I mean, Josh Gordon's ridiculous. Like, dude, that dude's been like, fuck you. I mean,
well, here's the thing with Josh Gordon,
but
is weed wasn't legal yet in those states. It's like, think about like Roy Tarpley got suspended and banned from the NBA for doing drugs.
Yeah.
And I get like, the Josh Gordon one is a huge one, but it was illegal at the time, and he did get arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and the same thing. I mean, let's go back to Brittney for a second. Hey, it's illegal. She took drugs into Russia and got arrested, but now we're like, no, she should come back, and I mean, it's the same thing.
Steve,
I mean,
don't do that, dude.
Yeah, don't be
that
logical.
makes too much
I mean,
sense.
sorry, I mean, so it's, and I get it. Like I'm saying, I don't think Deshaun Watson is some saint. I don't think he's not guilty.
Oh, God, dude.
He probably is guilty, but again, there was not enough proof to criminally charge him. He paid his dues in civil lawsuit. He's getting suspended. It's time to move on from it. Like, I just don't see why it needs to keep continuing to be a thing.
Well, because the suspension's not going to be long enough for what the NFL wants, and that's why.
Well, and
once they get what they want for their suspension, it will go away for a while.
It's not just the NFL that wants it, though. Like, there's groups outside the NFL that are pushing, and
well, wasn't there groups outside the NFL that wanted Adrian Peterson,
Ray Rice, for sure, Ezekiel,
Greg Hardy,
Elliott. He only got 6 games, right?
Elliott got 6 games and there was no proof.
So did Deshaun Watson. Like, that's the same thing.
But that was 1. So maybe we should times 6 times 24.
Yeah.
To see how many games he should be suspended.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the reason why I wanted to talk about Vin Scully for a minute, and honestly, I didn't even really know about the guy. I'm like, geez. And I looked, I started watching stuff, like 25 World Series titles. He broadcasted, Kurt Gibson, like, and just listening to him and listening to his own words, I'm like, dude, I feel like a complete prick. Like, why am I so unhappy with my life? This dude, he loves his life, dude. So what's his thing? What is it? You know what it is? He didn't let all this stuff bother him. We sit here and the tough thing is every day I'm like avoiding the news. I avoid it. I avoid the crap, but I can't. I'm like, Drudge Report, what's going on? I'm like, crap, dude. But this guy, he enjoyed his life. And you know what? It seemed like nothing bothered the dude. And maybe he figured out something that none of us did. And maybe we should learn from it. Like, just ignore this stuff. You know, what are we doing?
There's plenty of people out there, you know, that are, you know, happy with what they're doing. And, you know, I mean, I don't think, at least I'm not unhappy with what I'm doing. And I think, it comes down to the fact that you can let stuff bother you. You know, you could talk about it. You can be open to listen. You can have conversations about it. It's the people, to me, that take these hard lines in the sand, or that just believe so much in one way or another, especially what's happening now politically, that's what causes you to be angry or upset or unhappy, or really let these things bother you, is because, you know, you're just not open to the conversation, and you know, just to think about things in different lights. And
Well, I think
we're
it's
living like that.
I'm sorry, Steve, but I think it's more where, you know, they are decisive and then they think whatever your viewpoints are is what the person is. And
Right.
so you can't ever discuss anything with anyone, or else they're going to be like, oh, you think that? You're a horrible, horrible person.
Oh yeah, you know, anybody listens to this podcast, they're gonna be like, oh well, Steve's okay with, you know, sexual misconduct and sexual harassment or whatever, you know, and that's not the case, you know, right?
You're just
The case is like there's three sides to every story. There's what you say, what I say, and what happened, you know. And that's that, and people don't understand that or get that these days with so many different things. And you're right, exactly what you said, Derek, is that people label people for certain things they say or think, or just want to be open to have a conversation about, which, you know, that's the trouble these days, is people you know, it always brings me back to Eminem, Dr. Dre. You know, everybody talking like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, you know. And it's like nobody's listening to each other. No, you know, nobody's having conversations. Nobody's moving forward with these. And so I like to talk about this stuff, to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me upset. It doesn't make me believe, you know, one person has opinions or you know, is right or wrong. And so, yeah, Wes, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like that stuff doesn't bother me, to be honest with you. Like, none of this bothers me. Like, you know, and I know people hate the saying "it is what it is," but now more than ever, it is.
Que sera, sera. Whatever shall be, shall be.
Yeah, it's really like that these days. But man, that Deshaun Watson conversation spent way longer than than the 12 minutes allotted for it.
Well, that was like one that should have just been by itself.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, and again, like you know, like I was telling you, there's so many different things, and I'll send you, Derek, the Sue Robinson one, so you can read through that. Because basically, like I said, what that is that's the transcripted stuff that she took and used in her decision for his suspension. And it's interesting. And maybe that's not true. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's not 100% accurate, you know.
Well, in there, was it when her summation about him not being able to have private masseuses anymore?
Oh yeah, no, that I'm talking about the stuff that happened up to that. But yeah, a lot of stuff she did, I think, was good. Maybe he should get some more games, but you know, yeah, he's talking about the private no private masseuses, and you know, he's getting suspended. And I think at some point, I think the NFL wants some type of counseling too. And that's what I think they're going to push for in the
end. Then, you know, I can't stand him really, because I kind of feel like he's a Raider hater, but I know it shouldn't be propping up anyone else, but Mike Florio, he must have been like a lawyer at some time, because he was given some really good insight into it, because listened to him on the Dan Le Batard show.
Yeah.
And he had a really good insight into it. And he even said, because this was like Monday, he's like, oh, the NFL is going to appeal this, and they're going to get more games.
Well, yeah, I mean, NFL wants what they want. They're going to get what they want, you know.
Right.
That doesn't matter, you know. But again,
well, plus it's public opinion too matters.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, again, it gets pushed by outside groups and outside opinion and what type of case it is, and it's like it's so silly to me that there's no there's nothing, it's not equal across the board, like Calvin Ridley's suspension and Vontez Burfict's suspension and all these other different less games and more games and things like that. It's like you guys so inconsistent.
Mhm. Yeah. How can a guy who's injured, not even playing, not even betting on his team, get suspended for a whole year?
Well, and I mean, how do you prove like helmet to helmet contact?
Yeah,
like if you played
purposeful
football,
yeah.
like if you ever played football, like like
Yeah. Tons of
you
times
ain't controlling that. Like,
that's
on.
like the ball carrier needs to. They need to call more of that.
Yeah.
Where the ball carrier leads with their helmet.
Right. Well, and again, and then you get in trouble for that, or like a wide receiver puts their head down, and all of a sudden the DB has on with helmet. So that again, and he gets 12 games, and so it's like, where's your consistency? Ray Rice barely gets anything on video, like punching.
Well, he got nothing until the video.
Right. But even with the video, what did he get? 2 games?
No, it was longer. I think maybe he got
4
2
games?
and then the video got leaked. Let's see.
He didn't get a lot. And that's the kind of thing to me, like, yeah, that one was crazy. All right, so we'll wrap up here as Eric's looking at that. So Wes, any final words?
It's pretty hard. You can't find the words for the stuff, man. It's pretty I enjoyed watching some of the Raider games tonight. That's about it. So,
well, happy to have
I enjoyed watching some football,
Yep. Happy to
even
have
with the delay.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, same thing. I'm excited for football to come back. I'm not a preseason guy. I've never been. So until the season gets started, I'm not too excited. I mean, I'll watch some preseason games, especially as they come near the end, because you get to see more of the starters and real game plans.
Well, I liked it because McDaniels is a new coach of the Raiders, so you got to see a little bit more of what he's doing. And I think they threw more screen passes in that one game than they did all last year.
Yeah, he's a check down guy for sure. He likes those, so you're going to see a lot of that this year. All right, guys. Well, any last words, Derek?
No, just like Vin Scully, just be kind and be nice to everyone out there, even if they have different opinions than you.
Yeah, be happy, enjoy life. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Viewers out there on the audio versions, thanks for listening. We will catch you guys next time on our next podcast.